Gonna do ASMR, but just convincing you to stand BTS. Hi, hello friends and strangers, it's me again, and I'm here to share with you the 14 books that I've read for April, and there are certain pros and cons when it comes to reading this much per month. Like, an obvious pro is that I'm reading a lot of books, but one huge con is that I'm reading a lot of books and I don't 100% remember every thought or opinion that I have for every book, even though I take notes. Before I filmed this wrap-up, I had to literally write down what I want to say about this book, so I won't have like a footage where it was like last March where a footage was like over an hour long. So okay, I'm gonna start with the first 4 books that I read for April, and these are the books that I read for the Filmith Readathon. First one is If I Tell You the Truth by Jasmine Kaur. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. It's an amazing book told in prose, and you can check out the Filmith Readathon vlog and review video that I have, so I'll link that here, so you can check out my full review of these 4 books. So for now, I'm just gonna give a short rating and recommendation for this box. Next is Si Jana Silang at Ang Tiyanak ng Tabon by Edgar Calabia Samar. I give this book 5 out of 5 stars. This book is amazing. It's written in Filipino/Tagalog, and been a while since I've read a Filipino authored book, especially written in our mother tongue. So it's amazing. I actually am planning to read the second book for the month of May. It's part of my Asian Readathon TBR as well as the Armidathon TBR. Next is Pillow Talk by Alisa Cataluna. I give this book 4 stars. Again, you can check out my review of the books, these 4 books, on the video. This is an amazing poetry collection, and please support Isa. You can purchase a copy of her book. The 4th one that I read for April is On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. I gave this book 4 stars. Another amazing book by Angie Thomas, so check out Angie Thomas's books. If you haven't yet, you're totally missing out. Her books are amazing. The 5th book that I read is sadly the last volume of Attack on Titan by Hajime Isayama. I gave this volume 5 stars. I wasn't able to keep track, and I didn't keep track of every volume that I read because, I don't know, I feel like I'm cheating when I do that on Goodreads or Storygraph, but that's another conversation on a different video. But the last volume and the last 2 chapters got me like, Shinzo Sasageo! Like, it's such a bittersweet ending to the series that I've journeyed with for so long, for years, and I may or may not have shed a few tears when it ended. I wish that the last chapter could have been longer to give more semblance to the series' closure. But anyway, I loved the whole volume. It went towards the direction that I truly wasn't expecting, but then it broke me and I loved it. It just felt like I was saying goodbye to my childhood friends. It did feel like that. So I'll definitely reread and rewatch the whole thing again. I'm just gonna continue anyway. The So the next book I read is the manga classics version of Romeo and Juliet by Stacey King. I give this 3 stars. I really appreciate the intent and the effort that goes into adapting this kinds of classics into something more digestible and accessible. Like, the amount of research is admirable. However, my only comment is that maybe if they create an even more accessible version wherein they use the modern English version, like how SparkNotes does their rendition of Shakespeare's works, especially if the goal is to make classics like this more accessible to non-English natives and or those who aren't very familiar with Old English that much. I fairly enjoyed this one because I already read the story before and had a full context before jumping in, but I don't suggest jumping into this book if you haven't read a more digestible version of a Romeo and Juliet. But I think you know what I'm saying. Next book is Every Vow You Break by Peter Swanson. I gave this thriller book 2 out of 5 stars. I have a full spoilery / rant review about this book on my channel. I'm gonna link that on my description box below. I didn't love it. So yeah, I didn't love the book, and it was on my anticipated 2021 releases, and I wasn't pleased with how things progressed with that book. Although the premise was promising, it just fell flat for me. The next book that I read is an arc from NetGalley, and it's called A School Frozen in Time by Naoshi Arakawa. I gave this book 3 stars out of 5. The premise is, in the middle of a snowy day, the school where this group of friends go to quite literally got stuck in the present when time stood still on the moment when a former classmate of theirs jumped off the school's roof. They are forced now to find ways to remember who among them killed him or herself 3 months prior. So the thing is, this whole present thing was supposed to happen 3 months after the incident, but then they are now stuck in time wherein they have to figure out who among them in school killed themselves. So the way that this is set up, it's obviously a build up to the succeeding volumes. So there was a lot of character introductions, and it was sort of suspenseful in a way that you are given these scenarios and clues as to who it may be, but then even if the clues are already in your face, you're still not sure whether it is that person because it could be someone else. So I'm definitely gonna check out the succeeding volumes. Next book that I finished is The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I don't know how many times I've already mentioned this book in this channel, but it is worth the mention. I had a live show with my husband for this book and a reading vlog dedicated to this book as well. You can check those out again in the description box below. I'll have them as a link there. Generally, I love this book. It's fucking amazing. It's worth the hype that it's getting, and I'm definitely gonna continue reading through the Stormlight archive. It just so happened that I have a May TBR that I won't be able to pick up Words of Radiance this month, so probably in June. Next book is The Girls Are Also Nice Here by Lori Elizabeth Flynn. So I give this book 4 out of 5 stars, and I wasn't planning on reading this, but then the audiobook I borrowed on Libby was already available, and I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna give it a chance. So anyway, I listened to it, and you know how I'm using Notion to take notes of my thoughts and opinions about the book? The only thing I took note of is that they're such bitches. I'm so mad. That's the whole book, really. There's a lot of trigger warnings for this book because there's a lot of bullying, manipulation, and toxic relationships. But what is this book about? Basically, it tells the story of these girls who were classmates slash friends when they were back in college. Now that they are grown-ups, they are invited back to the school for a reunion. And the point of views are told from the perspective of the main character, Ambrosia, Amb, let's just call her Amb, and it navigates the present and the past. The present wherein it leads to the reunion, or it is the reunion setting, or the past where they were in back in college. What I like about the storytelling is that the past and the present merge perfectly as to show you what might happen. Like, it's not handing it to you on a plate. It's more of like, you can figure it out on your own based on what's happening in the past and what's happening on the present. Like, with a chapter that's telling you about the present, it would give you an idea of what might have happened on the past, and then whatever happened in the past is going to give you an idea on what might happen in the present. So that's one thing that I think this book has really strong points in. Also, it's mostly character driven. Like, it will really anger you and enrage you because the girls are not so nice. Like, the girls are bitches. I don't know if, I think what's harrowing with this book is that it is happening in real life. Who you might think are your friends might be actual backstabbers or might actually drive you to kill yourself. There are two girls who are not so nice, not so really nice. The plot revolves around this main character, Amb, who is super insecure, who always needs validation from other people, especially her best friend, even if that validation is granted through destructive means, by like cheating, sleeping around, stealing other people's boyfriends. It's just so enraging, and it will make you think that, wow, this happens in real life, and I'm just so mad at the characters. It was obvious what they are doing to this other girl who they are hurting, and this other girl is just naturally nice. Like, even though that girl has history of depression, she's just generally a nice person. Like, there's no reason for you to be awful to that person, depression or not. She's just naturally nice. But then this other girl is super insecure, and this girl likes that girl's boyfriend, so of course she's gonna do everything that she can to steal that boy. And that's what happened. And I'm just not gonna dive into so much details because if you're planning to read this, still give it a try. Like, it's something that dives into college culture, toxic relationships, and the lengths that people would go to just to get validation from other people, and that's sad. I don't have notes for this, so I blabbered about this book. Next book that I read is Vain by Elliot Rahal. I give this graphic novel 2 stars, and this graphic novel, I think it is a standalone, so I'm throwing it out there that this is a standalone graphic novel, and it tells the story of 4 blood bank robbing and very stylish vampires. They're just living the life of crime and money and somehow getting entangled with the war against the Nazis. That plus adding their literal thirst for blood. The way that this story progressed is that these vampires underestimated their enemy, an FBI agent who has witnessed their actual killing of a very important scientist and is on a mission to catch them no matter what it takes. That alone was very interesting for me. That's why I also picked it up as an arc from NetGalley. The art is good, and I was very invested on the first 2 chapters because there are killings of Nazis by vampires, and I just thought that it was gonna go towards the way that I wanted to, like, I don't know, working with humans, no matter how cliche that is. I just think even if that wasn't followed, I think there is just so many unnecessary time skips that aren't explained well or shelled out so well, understandably because of the limited pages there are for the graphic novel, especially since it's a standalone, and I'm gonna get to that point soon. It started very strong, the first 2 chapters, but it started getting muddled starting at chapter 3. It had so much potential to be a good comic series, really. I really wish it wasn't a standalone graphic novel instead, because the plot and the characters themselves could have been developed more. Could have been easily a great Nazi killing vampire story. Felt really bland and trite instead. So another book that I gave 5 stars last April was Sharp Objects. It's Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn, the author of Gone Girl. I loved it so much. There's so much to unpack here in this short book. It's very character driven. It's so fucked up. It's so messed up. There's a lot of trigger warnings for this book, and I'm gonna put them all here in this video. The story revolves around this reporter, Camille, who was assigned to cover the murder of 2 teenagers that took place in her small hometown. So she's plagued by the mystery of the whole murder and her own destructive family. This was the first Gillian Flynn book for me, and I was not disappointed at all. The writing was so gripping, haunting, and just plain fucked up. Flynn has a way with words that would leave you just bothered and squirmy after, and I loved how the story was driven by the characters, but somehow they didn't overpower the plot itself. It was the perfect read for me that month. This is definitely one of those books wherein you won't like a single character. Like, there's character development, but in a way that you won't like them. They are so well written in all their messed up ways that you just can't help but feel pity because of like how ridiculous and troubled these people are. And it also tackles like generational trauma and how being a mother isn't for everyone. And that's it. I'll just leave it at that because like it's so fucking disturbing. So again, please check out the trigger warnings first before jumping into this book. So the next book I read is Good Neighbors by Sarah Langan, and I gave this 4 stars. This is also another book that was on my 2021 anticipated releases. I'm glad that I was not disappointed at all. I think what I love the most about this book is that there was a good balance of mystery and family drama that was able to keep me reading the book and keeping me interested. The story revolves around this suburban town of middle-class families that are just too good for the new neighbors, the Wild family. So just because the Wild family doesn't fit their cookie cutter standard of this Maple Street family, almost everyone condemned, ostracized the family, and like through extremely baseless and horrendous accusations that were like hidden under a mask of pettiness and ugliness. There was a lot of fucked up shit again that happened in this book. Someone's daughter fell in a hole that sprouted in town, and it was the Wild family that they are blaming for this because there are some circumstances that points it to them, but still the accusations were baseless because there are proof that the family members are in this place or in that place, and it's just a wild ride. It's a wild ride, and there are a lot of trigger warnings again for this book, so please check that out. Generally, I recommend this to people who like reading thriller books, especially if it's rooted on family drama. Then this is the book for you. So the last book slash the 14th book that I read for the month of April is Lonely Receiver by Zach Thompson. I got this as an art from NetGalley. I was immediately drawn to the book because of the cover art, really, and the premise is a horror slash breakup story told in 5 parts. So I was like, horror breakup story, okay, I'm in. So it tells the story of Katrin Vander, a lonely video producer who buys an artificial intelligence partner that's meant to bond with her for life. After 10 years together, her holographic wife suddenly disconnects without a warning. The breakup drives Katrin to the point of near insanity. She's alone for the first time in years and reeling from a loss that she can't comprehend. So yeah, the book is set in a future where AI takes human forms and can be designed and built custom made based on what a human wants. In this particular story though, Katrin's marriage slash obsession and eventual breakup with an AI left her literally unhinged and spiraling into this craze of self-destruction, and she found herself looking for ways to feel something in the most destructive of ways, like drugs, alcohol, sex, that she got addicted. And the self-destruction part was perfectly encapsulated by how confusing and strange the storytelling got as I read more into the chapters. The writing is not for me, unfortunately, because it's poetic, but in a way that you won't understand a thing. Like, you have a vague sense of what's happening because of the visuals, because you're seeing the art, you're seeing the drawings, but if you're gonna read it with just the words, you won't have an idea what the fuck is going on. But the thing is, I think that in itself speaks for the confusing and empty feeling that the character is feeling, like losing yourself, again spiraling into insanity. So it's like visualized in this graphic novel. While I did like the metaphorical take and the amazing art style and how the color schemes were used to convey the different feelings and emotions that the character emulates, I got sort of withdrawn from the characters and the story as a whole as I was reading the last chapters, because again, I think mostly because of the writing. Like, I love the art style, but I feel like it lost me along the way. Check out the trigger warnings again for this one. There's body horror, there's self-harm, physical assault, to name a few. That's it. These are the 14 books that I read for the month of April. I think April is a good reading month numbers wise. I read really good books, and I also read a mix of meh books, but still, I think it was a good reading month. If you've read any of these books, let me know and we can talk about it. If you haven't, check out the books that I've mentioned and I gave 5 stars to. How do I even finish this video? Why am I always so awkward? Oh yeah, I bought a mic from Shopee and I feel like I can do ASMR. The first day that I got the mic, I was like, when I was testing it, can I do ASMR now? This is my ASMR. Stan BTS, stream dynamite. Yeah, that's me. Gonna do ASMR, but just convincing you to stan BTS. When you have the chance or when you are in the mood, do join Asian Readathon this month. It is our goal to uplift more Asian and Pacific Islander voices in literature. So let me know what you're gonna read for this month. I feel like I have I forgot the word. I have a lot of my May TBR because of our Meadathon and Asian Readathon, but I'm really hoping to get through all the books that I placed in my TBR, at least most of the ones that I've been really wanting to read for the past few weeks and months. Got to this part of the video even though recording was chaotic. Thank you. Subscribe to my channel, leave a thumbs up. I really appreciate everyone who has been supporting me this past few months since I started my channel. Thank you, and I'll see you again soon, friends and strangers. Goodbye.